Whoa, another Transformers video. I didn't think I'd be doing another Transformers video so soon, but lo and behold, I was at my local Toys R Us and they had one of my favorites. If you're new to the channel, you might know that Soundwave and Shockwave are my favorite characters. So when I saw Soundwave that was available for the new Robots in Disguise line, I just had to pick it up. This is a Warrior class figure, which at time of release, according to Hasbro, is worth about $15, which is typical for a deluxe class, though they're apparently now called Warriors class or Warrior class. But it's pretty similar in vehicle design to the War for Cybertron vehicle, which I'll show. It's also pretty similar to the Fall of Cybertron figure, which I will put up a picture of in a moment. But yeah, this figure is, I think it's supposed to be, since this is technically the Transformers Prime continuity, I believe it's supposed to at least resemble Soundwave's Cybertron form, or War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron form, which would make a lot of sense. Well, it makes a lot more sense than Soundwave having a stealth bomber. Let's pop them open. Hopefully it won't damage the instructions. Apparently the instructions only come on the back. Okay, well, right off the bat, just looking at the robot, I'm going to say this is a pretty nice figure. The only accessory Soundwave comes with is this kind of little pistol cannon. It does have a swivel to help it fold up, but I don't really know where that's supposed to attach. There are ports up on his shoulders, so you can go with the classic shoulder cannon, or you can just hold them in his hand, since it is designed to be held in the hand. Okay, it's supposed to go in the hand. I don't want to risk breaking those hands. As you can see, those hands have adorable little finger sculpts for like these tiny evil claws, and I don't want to risk breaking them. The head also has some little small horns that I would be worried about breaking off, so I would not recommend this for a kid, because they could easily break the horns or the fingers if they just tried to shove something like this in there. Though as you can see, it is kind of like a little shotgun, minigun, speaker, blaster. This is actually a really nice Soundwave. And let me transform my War for Cybertron version so you can compare. Alright, so here we now have the Soundwave we just opened, took out the packaging, with my War for Cybertron Soundwave. I don't remember when War for Cybertron was, but let's just say 2009. Obviously, the newer version, the Fall of Cybertron version, is a little bit more advanced. It doesn't have just a little pistol and a little canister. It now has like those weird disc weapons that I never really got into. I think they were supposed to be like new age version of the Cassetticons. But as you can see, their robot modes aren't really that similar, but they both are definitely Soundwave. The War for Cybertron version is definitely very G1 reminiscent Soundwave. This is definitely more reminiscent of, to me at least, reminiscent more of Transformers Cybertron Soundwave. Getting this version, my little bit older version, out of the way. This is an interesting version of Soundwave. He has mostly dark blue, though on, like, for example, the waist, the shins, and on the gun. He does have some patches of metallic royal blue, which is pretty cool. He's also got he's got a darker shade of gray. It's kind of more of a matte dark gray, and he's got a couple little purple accents there. Like on his shoulders, and actually pretty much just the shoulders. Kind of like Decepticon purple, but he also has accents of orange on the light piping, as well as all four wheels, and you can see a little bit on the back, but part of, I guess, the internal part of the robot that is more visible in vehicle mode is kind of a dark, like this dark translucent orange. Yeah, I like this figure. I think torso-wise, his torso is a little big. It's you know, it doesn't have that length that I think is needed for the width. So he comes off as being extremely boxy. Now, I realize that this version literally has a rectangle, but the torso is a little bit thinner for being roughly the same width, and so this Soundwave looks more proportional. This one looks a little more boxy, especially having these like miniature wings on the shoulders don't really help with the look. Also, the War for Cybertron version had a gun and a shoulder cannon. This version just has a shoulder cannon that can be held as a gun. And again, I am a little hesitant to put it in the hands because of how fragile thin plastic like that could be. It could potentially break if you forced it in. Okay, so that was interesting. The transformation for the Warrior class Soundwave is actually a lot more complicated than I expected. And while this version, the War for Cybertron version, and the Fall of Cybertron version's vehicle mode, which I will again show the picture of again right now, are definitely based more on kind of like a Cybertronian van. They've got like these teeth in the front with like these kind of cool tusks, and they're definitely more of a compact package, and there's very little space under here. There's a little bit of space between the legs, a little bit behind the waist, but there's very little space. It's very compact. Accessory-wise, you know, you still have the cannon and the pistol, but they can be, this is really cool in my opinion, they can be attached to these two, I think it's 5mm peg holes on the sides if you want to have those there. If you don't want to have the weapons though, what I really like is you can flip up the teeth of the front of the car, and you can store them in the mouth right where the cassette would go. Same thing goes with the same thing goes for the Fall of Cybertron version. They can both store their weapons inside, and I really like that. The new version, however, doesn't do that. There are ports that you can store it on top, on either side, like so. And I believe this is... that's not correct. I believe canonically... either way, one of these two ports is correct. You can also store it in these ports on the wrists where this like red stripe is, but you know, like not very well because it pops out easily. Also, the hands are 100% visible. Like his hands are just hanging off the back of the car, so you could potentially hold it in one of his hands. But this version has next to no storage other than on the shoulder ports. The Robots in Disguise version is also very shelly. There is a lot of open room right here. I know that's to make room for these leg flaps to fold in and over to make the legs, but in vehicle mode it's very, very shell. You could technically store things like that, but it doesn't help. I also don't get why this peg folds, because there's really no way to store that unless you, like, you know, just stick it on top like that. Looks like there's also like a place for it to peg into, like a piece for it to peg in to store there, but I'm not seeing it there. So I think as a vehicle mode, this version's a lot weaker. You know, RiD, other than Soundwave's eye, or his eyes, RiD has never been a big part of Soundwave's color scheme, and we've got the red wheels and what looks to be like a red cockpit. Yeah, because he's got like this weird like armored Humvee thing going on, which doesn't look bad, but it's kind of weird. Also, kind of weird thing is you could tell they tried to mimic the War for Cybertron version by having the feet in the back, but while these feet just kind of flip up or stay down, you've got the knees here, and then the feet, the bottoms of the feet are literally the roof. So it's a very similar concept, but this version, I think, this version doesn't have weapon storage. It uses a fair amount of translucent red, which is not a Soundwave color, and then the lack of additional storage. Yeah, that's I think the storage is a big issue. The transformation is more like I mentioned before, is more complex than I expected, though it is pretty cool. It took me a little while to figure it out though, and the figure rolls pretty well. I would say this is not my favorite Soundwave, but it's definitely a cool Soundwave.